lights are on and phone is still charging. Hi, this is Nicola from Purple Custom, and today I'm going to do a deep dive video with all the details with regards to the Companion. So one of the biggest challenges is how you can run the lights while charging at the same time. As usual, there will be chapter marks down below, and of course any product or anything mentioned, I'll include links in the description. Of course, if I miss anything, please write a comment and I'll try to get back to you as possible. Bit of an introduction, why did I decide to develop it? And first is, actually I didn't know anything about electronics and I wanted to develop a charger that works with the Dynamo and charges the Shimano electronic gears. I have another video, I'll post a link here below. First, a very brief introduction of dynamos. They're also called generators, and they look like this. This is a Ladelux. They basically, as you ride, they spin and then generate electricity. So at the flick of a switch, you have electricity available. Mostly they're used for powering lights, but as we have electronics that are quite useful during cycling, like a GPS or our phone as a GPS, etc., etc. And when we go on longer tours or multi-day events, we can use that power to charge those devices. So dynamos are one of the better solutions for this, so you don't need batteries, you don't have to worry about charging. There's obviously more to it, but I'll have a separate video on that, but this is just so we're all on the same page. Since outdoor engineering, which is long distance events, and also ultra riding has exploded in popularity, I was not really happy what normal lights doing or chargers. Most importantly, you cannot turn the lights and charge at the same time, so that's why I decided to go with a buffer battery. Back in the day, I saw Sturmey Archer. They're one of the first who designed the Dyno Hub. They had this system. It was lights only, obviously, because back in the day people didn't have smartphones and all that. But it had a battery and a dynamo, and basically when you slow down, I don't know if it was automatic or it required a switch, but it had a battery unit. So when you're going fast enough, the dynamo would power the light, and when you stop, I'm pretty sure it was automatic. Even if not, you would flip a switch and then you use the battery, which is a very smart system because dynamos, especially at low speed, they flicker. They don't provide very smooth power, so I decided, well, let's have a dynamo into a battery, and then that battery is used to charge devices. Of course, I didn't know much, so how difficult can it be? Well, 3-4 years later, I finally have a product. It went through various revisions. I mean, here are some of the housings that I made until 2023, and this is not showing all the circuit boards that I burnt, everything that I fried. But 2023 is where I came to the final thing. I rode the 2023 Paris-Brest Paris with it, and because of this, actually, I got to meet Wilfried Schmidt. Who is Wilfried Schmidt? He's the S behind the SON Dynamo, so it's Schmidt original Nav and Dynamo, Schmidt's original Hub Dynamo. And I met him at the 2020 Concorde Machine de Rambouillet. He was quite interested in what I was making because that's when Schmidt SON introduced their light with a charger, because up to now they've been making dynamos and lights, and everybody has been asking them, I guess, why don't you make a charger? So that's when they introduced their system. Actually, they're one of my first customers. Bought one of the first production versions. Let's get closer and to see when you order it, what you get in the box. So what do you get once you get the Companion? So that is it. It comes in a box like this. You open it and it's already packed nicely inside. Obviously this is one that's for customers, but I have a demo one. This is the one we're going to be using for this demonstration. It's absolutely the same one. It's easier to show it like this. When you get it in the box, you have a cable that connects to your dynamo. This. You also have a remote control. Well, depends when you get it. That's how it looks. Like this. It has a clip to attach to your handlebar with some rubber rings. Again, this is just a momentary switch. You can get anything as long as it uses the correct cable. I sell the cable. For the purpose of this demonstration, we're going to use my test button because I like it and it's easier to show. That's it. So let's explore a bit. So if you turn it to the front, as you can see, this is actually where the interesting things start. There's facets in the optics. This is an upright or regular version. It has a standard 10mm mount. So any mount, depending on your setup, is compatible with this, but there is a good orientation. As I said, this is a standard one, so it mounts like this. It's also available as an upside down version. You cannot just flip them like I'm showing you now. There's ways to do it because the optics are symmetric because of the cutoff. Later in this video I'll show you how you can do it yourself, but again, if you have a preferred orientation, for example, I run it almost exclusively upside down. If you have a preferred orientation, let me know when you order it and I'll ship you this one. And that's where we get to the optics. So like this is the reason why you can't just flip it. You can already see the yellow thing is the LED, and the optics, as you can see, have these facets and they have a good orientation. So basically there's this dot there right there, this is the top of the optics, like it's aligned with the facets. So this is as far as mounting. Like I said, this is a regular version. If you go to the back, it has two cables. So the male one is what goes to your dynamo. Obviously there's this one that it gets connected to the dynamo. This you put elsewhere on the bike and you connect this. Depends on your system. I mean, this one I've stripped it for testing. They're a bit staggered, so when I test I don't short circuit things. But for Shimano, shutter precision, etc., you just need to bear the cable. You put it inside the connector and then it folds the wires and you're good to go. You put it on the dynamo. If you're running a Schmidt or a StVZO dynamo, you use two systems, or actually three. I'm gonna cover them. So the classic and the more popular one, I think, is using a spade connector. You need two of them. They need to be crimped and soldered. Again, if you need any of those, just let me know in the order description when you order it. And the other option, which I think is the superior system, is so-called the StVZO coaxial. Basically, this is the part that goes to the spade connector terminals right there, and then you have a coaxial cable. This is not so easy to solder. It's extra cost. I mean, obviously it's a custom-made part, but it's much easier to disconnect, especially when you're tired and it's the middle of the night and you forget you have a dynamo. You can rip the cables off your wheel because the spade connectors are quite a tight fit. I mean, this is also a tight-ish fit, but it's a lot easier to go on and off. So that's the second system. And the third system, I mean, I keep mentioning it, it's called the StVZO SL, or Stecker loss, connector loss. As you can see, this one here does not have any connectors on it because it uses the fork. Basically, it uses these two parts to connect. All my bikes use this system, but this is custom. Again, if you have any questions about this, if you have this system, you know you have it. If not, you need a custom fork. I think there's some stock ones, but I'm not sure this is something you can buy off the shelf. Some manufacturers make it, but this is custom. So this is how you connect it to your dynamo. So you connect this part. I'm gonna plug it in a couple minutes to show you to power it up. And your remote control, it uses the opposite cable, so you plug it in here. And you attach this. Obviously this one is my test one that I used to test around the shop, but the other one you attach it to your handlebars or wherever you find convenient. And as you can see, it works. Obviously we're gonna get into what it does in a bit. So let's flip the Companion on the back. Obviously you have the USB-C port. This is gonna come usually with a cap. There's caps that glue on here. I might include them. I mean, depends. So you never lose it. But again, this is a very common part. This is the real light connection. I sell pre-soldered cables. It uses a standard DC jack like this one. It's 1.4 millimeters inside and 3.4, something like this. From the top of my head, I don't remember, but this plugs in right here if you have a real light. Obviously I sell cables if you want them, and there's this ring that changes colors depending on what modes you are, whether you're charging, whether you're running the lights and all that. So let me plug everything in and then we're gonna explore the different modes. So now that we have everything connected as if it is on your bike or here in my bench for the purpose of the demonstration, we're gonna start going over the features. And the first feature that I mentioned is that it has an StVZO, or German cutoff beam. As you can see right there, it has this sharp cutoff in the horizon. I'm gonna post some beam shots to show you how it works. And a lot of people focus only on the cutoff part as if it's the most important thing. Obviously, if you ride on public roads, if you're commuting and there's other users, you should not be the idiot with the Brazilian lumen light that goes into everybody's eyes, because it is actually dangerous. But the feature of StVZO optics that gets missed, in my opinion, and I found this by experience, is so-called throw. To illustrate this, I have a real light connected to the real light connection there, and this is a narrow spot beam that you would find on a lot of non-StVZO lights. And even though it's quite narrow, as you can see with the red, it contrasts quite a bit. It's very obvious. As you can see, this one is very close and this one is much further. And this is what is called throw. Even though the light intensity is not the same, this is currently on low, so it's still probably a couple hundred lumens. But as you can see, this one goes much further, while this one, it gets lost. I mean, it's very easy to see here with the squares. And I've tested quite some optics before I get this custom made. And when I would test an StVZO light compared to non-StVZO optics, when you have this one on and you switch this one on, basically nothing would happen. It will be nothing, but basically you'll get like light right in front of your bike. And if you're going about 15 kilometers an hour, you're outrunning your beam very, very quickly, and it's not a comfortable experience, especially if you're descending. So this is one of the best features of StVZO. And why is it like this? Because when they test for the beam pattern, obviously I'm going to flip it around while you can see. So when they test for the beam pattern, as you can see, this one is a bit where obviously the camera overemphasizes, but they test on the wall, and similar like the squares on this board, there's certain zones and light intensities that need to be met in order for this specification. Obviously there's others, but this is the most visible one because it's a light. And let me point, and this is just a simple round beam right there. Again, we're not trying to compare intensity. So like I said, it's the cutoff that matters, but it's also the 10 meters. The one cannot be excluded, and this is the biggest advantage of StVZO cutoff optics, as you can see here again. Let me put it, and you can see it very well with the squares, that basically the throw distance is not even in the same ballpark. Obviously you're going to say, well, if you increase the intensity on this one, is it not going to change? Well, it's not. It's just going to become brighter closer to you, like this. Obviously there will be some light here, but since it would be much brighter here, our eyes would focus there. So this is what is the most important part of StVZO optics, which I think gets missed. A lot of people focus on the cutoff, but it's more than that. I'm going to disconnect the rear light because we don't need it for further demonstrations. Again, it's very simple. So let's go again to the back of the Companion. So I have it hooked up on my lap transformer here, and as you can see right now, so it's currently in its default state. So if it resets when the battery gets low, or if you change the battery, it's gonna go to this state. So it's on it's the internal battery who powers the lights, and it's also the internal battery is being charged. As you can see, it's orange, so it's not full. Once it's full, it would become green. And I'm gonna put a chart on the side so you can follow with me, but right now we're on battery low with charger. We go on battery medium and battery high. Then we go to pure dynamo light, which is it works like your dynamo light, but it has intensity control. So there you go, this is dynamo low, and it stays like this at all speeds. This is actually quite innovative feature because most dynamo lights, they get brighter as you speed up and they dim when you slow down. So you're on dynamo low, dynamo medium, and dynamo high. This is absolutely full power, and again the cutoff is maintained, it's just the intensity that becomes brighter. And when you're on dynamo mode, let's see if you can see, let me cover it, the LED is green, the indicator LED. Right now you're charging only, as you can see it's orange, so it's only charging the internal battery. Another thing that to mention is like, why didn't I just go always to the battery in order to have the lights running? I think it's in some situations, obviously when you design something you need to think of worst case scenarios. So sometimes, for example, you forgot to charge the internal battery, or depends, you've been going very slow and you've been charging something, so the internal battery is drained and you need a lot of lights, like you're going up a mountain, it gets dark, and then you want to go on the other side where you need more light. Now you're kind of stuck with the dynamo's limited power because you don't have the buffer to get you out of it. So this is why you can put it on dynamo, because this is independent of the battery level. So you can just disconnect whatever you're charging. Obviously you cannot charge anymore, and run it on dynamo mode. I've had this a couple of times because to run the internal electronics you need very little battery. So as long as you're not charging anything, you can have full power. Well, if you're always going to the battery, because lithium-ion batteries take some time to charge, it's not like it's not like filling up a cup of water. So now that I showed you the different intensity modes, let's charge something. So this is a USB-C. I have a phone that uses the old standard, so you need an adapter like this one. So I'm gonna plug this adapter in, and I'm gonna plug in my phone and to show you how it charges. This is very simple. I mean, the way you would use your regular charger at home. Let me get my phone there, and here we are. As you can see, it's charging my phone. And let me show you. Again, quite some cables here. But let me show you. So 17%. 1 click, 2 click. Lights are on and phone is still charging. This is one of the features. So I'm going to leave this here to charge a bit because as you saw it's quite discharged. So now that I covered the lights, the optics and the rear light connection as well as the modes, we're gonna switch our attention to the USB-C port, which I think a lot of you are interested in. Right now it's still charging my phone, but in order to show you I'm gonna get a sheet of paper, so I'm gonna put this away and I'll be right back. So first of all, I'm gonna be 100% honest and tell you what the Companion is not, and it is not a 10,000, 20,000 or 50,000 milliampere hours power bank. It still has some limits. And your first question that you're gonna have, does it charge my device? And the answer is I have not had any returns that it does not charge anything, and this is because of standards, but I'm gonna get into them in a bit more detail. But first of all, like I said, let's discuss a bit what it is not and why. So in our case, we have our battery. So we have a lithium-ion battery, and it is 3.7 volts. Obviously it varies a bit, but it's 3.7 volts, and I'm going to use 1000 milliampere hours because it's easy to calculate. Milliampere hours. Obviously 3.7 volts. USB is 5 volts. So obviously 3.7 is not 5. So in order to get into 3.7, you need to boost it or step it up. Obviously, since lithium ions take a huge role in pretty much everything that we use today, there's plenty of converters and they're quite efficient, let's say 90% or 0.9. And the thing is then, you know, mostly the 5 volts, when you charge something in your heads, for 5 volts you need to get to another lithium ion battery, let's say your phone. So another 3.7 volts. Again, 5 volts is not 3.7, so you need to step it down. And this is where it starts to get interesting, and the efficiency here quite depends on whether it's a linear or switch mode power supply. So let me show you two of my prototype circuit boards here. I don't know what you can see, but they're as opposite as they come. So obviously the one is much smaller than the other. This is a switch mode power supply or lithium ion charger, and this is a linear one. And what you need to know that linear ones are quite simple, that's why they're so small, and switch mode they can provide a lot more power, they're a lot more efficient, but they're quite big. They have an inductor, this part here, so they generate electromagnetic noise, which we don't hear, but it's still there. And that's the thing. So how it works, so linear ones basically the way they do, they take what they need out of the 5 volts and the rest they dissipate as heat. And the other ones they use a bit, I'm not going to get into details, but they have a switch and an element that takes some power, like the inductor, and then there's a switch that's controlled. It decides how much to release depending, and then you get what you need depending on whether it's a linear, so linear or switch mode. Linear vary anywhere from 0.6 to 0.7, I want to say. I'm going to check this. And this depends on the battery charge, because this is 3.7 nominal, but it varies between 3 and 4.2. Like I said, it takes what it needs, the rest dissipates as heat. While switch mode are anywhere from 0.8 to 80% to 90%. As you can see, they're quite more efficient. And I'm not gonna get into the details here. I mean, this is a deep dive video, but you have to understand if it's like a compact device like a GPS or, like I said, say a smartwatch or anything like this. Basically, if it's small and does not have any kind of fast charge, it most likely has a linear charger. As you can see, the actual charger is this black part here, and it exists in even, this is 2 by 2 millimeters, it exists in 1 by 1. It's specifically designed for smartwatches. So if your device has any kind of fast charge, it's most like one of these. So why am I telling you this? Because, you know, you have stacked inefficiency. So you have 0.9 times, so 90%, 60 to 70%, so you have anywhere in total, so 0.9 times 0.6, so you have 0.54 to 0.63. This is your total efficiency, and here it gets quite a bit better, so 0.72 to 0.81. So we started with our 1000 milliamp hour battery, and if we go to all of this, and for the linear one we have 50%, so the true capacity that actually reaches your device is between 540 to 630 milliampere hours, and on this one is, well, from 720 to 810 milliampere hours. So this is pretty good, and a lot of times, and probably I'm shooting myself a bit in the foot, but I'm going to be 100% honest. Let's say you have your phone, you have your smartphone here with a button. Your phone has a 10,000 milliampere hour battery, and if you have a power bank that's 10,000 milliampere hours, they say you can charge your phone one time, which is not true. Again, it depends your phone. Most phones nowadays have fast charge, so they probably fall into this part, but it's not one-to-one conversion. It's not even close, especially if you have something small. Like most fitness devices that are small, wearables, have one of these. Now that we covered a bit lithium-ion batteries and tool capacity, I'm probably gonna go to the question that you were anticipating the most. Would it charge my device, my phone? I have an iPhone S, Samsung this, Garmin, etc. And the answer is most likely yes. And this is because of standard. So I'm gonna go back to my sheet here. 5 volts, I need to go to 3.7, and I'm gonna make this in red here because this is not so simple to do. To charge a lithium-ion battery, there's a protocol that needs to be sustained, and I'm going to be a bit over dramatic. Is if you don't respect this, there's a very specific protocol for charging lithium-ion batteries. If you don't respect this, the batteries catch fire and you burn down your house. And also, overload adapter here, it overheats and it burns down your house. The way this is programmed depends on your device. Basically, your phone, your GPS or whatever has one of these inside, and they decide how they're going to charge the battery and how they will manage what is available. What I have seen a pattern basically before, if the phone would not get what it wanted from the adapter, it would start complaining and would refuse to charge. And the trend nowadays from integrated circuits who are responsible for lithium-ion charging is they take what they can, they monitor, they don't overload this, they take what they can and they're happy with it. Obviously fast charging, etc., that's why you need a specific adapter, because that's where the standards. I'm going to put a chart what the Companion supports. So basically it supports everything without USB power delivery, because USB power delivery is very high power and we're still dealing with a 3-watt Dynamo and a very small buffer battery, 1600 milliamp hours. So basically it depends on your device if it's going to charge. Trend is for devices to accept what is available and be happy with it. Mostly I think this is made because a lot of people have old adapters which are designed to charge the older, much less power demanding phones, etc. And nowadays you get the phones that support fast charging, etc., with a special adapter, but sometimes there is no adapter, etc., etc. And you don't have to know about the standards, you just want to plug it in the wall and it works. So that's why there's the standards. Basically they are there, so they respect both the battery and the adapter, and again it is programmed in your device. So as I mentioned, the Companion respects all those standards up to USB power delivery, and a lot of people see USB-C and they think immediately USB power delivery, but that's not the case, because USB-C port contains the same pins as a USB-A. So the type of torque that happens, whether how much current it can give to your device can be done with a USB-C or USB-A. I chose USB-C because it's universal. This is the standard right now, and it's also reversible, which when you have gloves and cold hands, it is much easier to use. So the take-home message is your device with one of those ICs decides if it has some kind of fast charge. That's why I need a specific adapter. There's a communication between the adapter and the IC there, and this is how USB power delivery works. There's a handshake that decides whether basically I want this much, and this says I can give it to you or I can't. And if all fails, this can always give half an amp or 500 milliamp hour, so 2.5 watts. So if all fails, this can always give you minimum charge. And like I mentioned, most devices nowadays do not complain. They'll charge slow, but they will not complain. And while I've been shooting this, I've been having my phone to charge. Like you saw, it started at 17%, so let's see where we are now. And we are at 49 right there. I don't know if you see it, but we're at 49%. So in about 40 minutes more or less, because I've been shooting on and off. So this should give you a pretty good indication. Again, I don't have the latest and greatest phones, but I haven't had anything to refuse to charge. So one of the features that I designed into the Companion is that the buffer battery is fully user replaceable with no tools and no soldering. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. And why would you want to do that? Basically, lithium-ion batteries have a finite life time. They have a certain number of charge and discharge cycles that they can sustain. Afterward the capacity drops and they're not so useful anymore. In this part of the video I'm going to show you how to do it yourself. So things you will need: you need your light, take it off the bike, you'll need your remote, I'll show you why. Obviously for now I'm gonna disconnect it, but you will need it. You will need gloves to avoid putting some smudges on the optics. And also to not get any of the thermal grease on your hands and then on the optics. It's not toxic, it's just annoying. A microfiber cloth to clean some of the thermal grease and or smudges, and an optional, maybe a Sharpie, like I've marked here how long the wires are, because once you put everything back together, it's easier to get the correct cable length. So first things first, like I mentioned, it has a StVZO optics, so you have the facets there into the optics, and there's this foot, because the optic sits on a tripod, that is the top. The light has a correct orientation, so this is regular or upside down, and also the rear light connection corresponds to the top of the optics. It's just easier to look at it that way. And again, take your time, it's not difficult. The most important part is do not force anything, do not let anything twist. Always hold things in place, and it should go pretty smoothly if you follow the instructions. So if you look at the housing, it has three parts, so a cap, middle, and a rear. There's rubber rings in between, that's why there seems like there might be a bit of a gap, but that is normal because the rubber rings sit there to isolate it from water, and also that should give you a bit of resistance in the last half a millimeter when you disassemble things. So let's start. So first we're gonna unscrew the cap. You just break, hold the middle part, and you just break the cap slightly loose like this. Then you hold it. And there you go. Now the cap should come off. There you go. There's an O-ring on the optics right there. For now, keep the optics in, remove the O-ring, and put it to the side. There's a trick how to put it in, don't forget it, otherwise the optics would rattle and it's not waterproof. And like I want to show you now, actually I'm going to take the optics, so the LED has a correct orientation, so basically it's parallel to one of the holes. As you can see, the LED is this like yellow part is kind of parallel to the hole there. So I'm going to put back the optics. Doesn't matter how you put them out, they just, you hold them like this and then you remove the middle part. Again, it's a fine thread, so there you go, it's loose, you remove the optics. That's the thermal grease that I mentioned. Put this to the side and then you can push all the electronics out like this. And again, here is, that's why I need the remote, basically, because you're gonna, every time you connect, disconnect, basically it's gonna reset. So you push the cables a bit. And that's where the battery is. Right there. As you see, no soldering, no nothing, so take it out. And you can change it. Obviously this is my test battery. What you get is one of these. This one is smaller capacity, but this is what I bring to exhibition, so like this you take it in. And also once you change the battery, the plus is that way. It is towards the optics. There's a reverse battery protection, so your first sign should be that, you know, it does this, otherwise it's simply not gonna work. Like I mentioned, the top of the optics is right there, so the rear light connection should go there as well. So you should kind of twist it a bit like this, so pull the cables a bit. Again, the Sharpie mark helps. And actually it's a bit unnatural, but don't get them as tight as you think. But they should go in pretty much, and there you go. This means it's working, so we're gonna put it back in the housing now. I mean, get this thermal grease all over the place, so we're gonna put it back in the housing. Like, try to get it almost how it was. So this was upright, so the rear light connection goes to the side of the mount. And that's where, well, clean your hands a bit from the thermal grease. Put it down. And connect your remote, and you see why now. Don't look at the LED, it's very bright even on the low setting. So put the middle part on, just get it started. Like this. And then let's see, where's the top of the optics? There we go. So put the optics back on, like try to compress everything, and that way you have connection. And with your remote switch it off so you know you don't blind yourself. And start screwing the middle part gently on. And here's a bit of the important part. I mean, because the optics are asymmetric and they don't sit in the middle, so you have to center them a bit. So that's how you put the rubber ring on. So you hold it on one side and you stretch it around. Don't try to roll it because it's just gonna unroll out. And now we put the cap back because that's gonna help us align the optics in the middle. I mean, there's quite a bit of adjustment built in, so especially if you want to flip the orientation. So again, let's check that the facets are correct. So get it started. Until you touch the rubber ring, you're gonna start feeling resistance. Yeah, like this. So then hold it and you screw the middle part all the way in. I mean, the cap might start turning as well, but you're screwing the middle part all the way in. There you go. And now we screw the cap. This is the important part where you don't let things twist. So you start going. So already aligned, it's a fine thread, it should go pretty smoothly. Besides just when you start going, compressing that O-ring. And there we go. We're back. We got some thermal grease here and there, but again, that's why we have the microfiber cloth. If you have a matte housing one, actually some oil kind of dissolves the grease and then it's easier to clean. Don't try to rub it. And again, with the remote connector, let's test if it all works. Obviously, you know, only the battery part works, not the dynamo. And there you go, that is how you change the internal battery of the Companion. Oh, another thing that you might want to do with your Companion is change the orientation. When you change bike setups, etc. For example, you put aero bars and you get a front handlebar bike, etc. And this is an operation that you can do yourself. It's similar to changing the battery. So I'm going to show you how to do it now. Again, a bit of an overview. So because the optics are asymmetric due to the cutoff, there's these facets that you see going on like this, and there's this point right there. This is top of the optics, and the optics sit like on a tripod. It has 3 feet and this is the top. So this is important when you do the changes. When you do this, take your time. It's not that difficult, and the most important part is to not let anything twist and force anything, because you're gonna rip some of the connectors and the cables. And everything is designed to fit pretty nicely, especially if it's been working for a while, because of all the heat of the LEDs and stuff. Everything has settled nicely. So if we right now, it's an upside down version, so the rear light connection matches the mount. So we're going to flip everything 180 degrees that way, and all we're going to do is flip the electronics inside the housing. So the housing has 3 pieces. It has a cap, middle part and rear. There's O-rings in between each, so it's a fine thread, so it should go on pretty easily, and just the last half millimeter you should kind of compress the O-ring to get all the waterproofness, so this is important. It does look like there's a gap, but this is the O-ring, so don't force anything. What you will need is gloves, microfiber cloth and your remote connector to the light. The gloves is so you don't get any smudges on the optics, and also there's thermal grease inside, and it's not toxic or anything, but it's quite annoying. You get it everywhere, especially on the optics. It's not nice. And you need the remote control, because the electronics, basically there's a battery inside, and as you move them in, the battery loses contact and basically it goes into reset. And with that out of the way, this is an upside down version, and we're gonna flip it to regular. Actually, I had a lot of people, for some reason I thought this would be the more popular, but I had a lot of people buy this and then they wanted to flip it around. So principle is the same, but now we're gonna do an upside down to regular. With the glove, it also gives you quite a bit of grip, so you hold the optics like this so they don't twist, and you try to twist the cap a bit, so you break the rubber seal there, and there you go, it comes off. The optics have a rubber ring. Take it off now, don't lose it. There's a way to put it on. I'll show you, so don't get too frustrated. I'll show you how to do it in the end. Keep the optics on for now. I'm going to take them off to show you something as far as the orientation is concerned. So the LED is this yellow part in the middle, and this is the top right there. As you can see, this hole is kind of like parallel to the LED, while the other ones are not. I want to show you that. So we're going to put them back in. I mean, it doesn't matter how you put them on. Now you just have them so they don't, so you don't twist anything. So there you go, you break the rubber seal and you're going to take the middle part out. When I do this, it might start flashing on and off, so be warned. That's why you have the remote, so you switch it off. So there you go, take this off. And this is the thermal grease. So now basically we're going to turn it 180 degrees that way. So we push the electronics out, they all come out in a nice package. And there you go, we twist everything 180 degrees. Try to get it pretty close. And there you go, it's gonna start switching on and off because you're, putting the contacts on and off. So now that we have everything back together, let's try to put it perpendicular to the mount as much as possible. Now we're gonna put the middle part back on. Just get the thread started, because you see it's gonna start twisting. We get the thread started. Put the optics in. Don't look at the LED. So press it for contact and then switch it off with the remote. There you go. So now you can turn it towards you. And let's see, where's the top part? Yeah, so the top part is right there. We're gonna put it like this, and we're gonna start screw it in. Get it almost all the way in. Again, should go pretty easily once you get about here to the resistance of the rubber joint. And let's see the back needs a bit of an adjustment. Again, if it's a bit off, it doesn't matter, but it's nice that it's all aligned. And now it's how we put the rubber ring back on. So you put it on one side, like this. Hold it with your finger and just get it around. Don't try to roll it on because it's gonna unroll. I mean, it might come off, but there you go. And now this is kind of like an important part, because try to get the optics as much as possible in the center, like visually. And then to really align them, you have to put the cap back on. Again, hold the optics. So there you go. Right now I got it pretty close, and as you can see though, it's going very smoothly. So it's a bit to that side, so obviously we're gonna put everything is okay here, and then push them down, and then you start doing the middle part. As I said, it was pretty close, so there you go. You feel the rubber ring catching, and now we do the cap. And when you get to the rubber ring, you should start feeling the resistance. Again, hold it so you don't let it twist. Again, maybe you have to overdo it a bit and then it twists a bit, but don't let anything twist too much. And there you go. So once everything is nicely put together, there shouldn't be any really big gaps here, because everything should have been aligned. That's why the last step when you put the cap before this is tight is really important. So everything gets aligned, and that way you can compress the wings so you don't get any water in. So once you put it all together, I mean, things might have settled a bit. So again, hold the optics so nothing twists, and see maybe there's like a last 1/10 of a turn of the middle part or the cap. This is really important for waterproofness. Yeah, this one has a bit, but it should look more or less like this. There should be no real gaps, and it should stay waterproof. Basically, if you have anything bigger than this, let me show you. This means you did not do it correctly. So kind of, again, hold the optics and square everything and try to align. The most important part is once you put the optics before this is tight, to make sure everything is aligned and test to see if everything works. Obviously the Dynamo part is not going to, but as you can see now, let me take this so you can see it better. As you can see, the cutoffs there, so this is an upright mounting. So that's it, how you change the orientation. This is a bit of a frequently asked questions type of section, and I'm going to try to cover most of the questions. I have a list here what you might have. Of course, if I miss something, put a comment and I'll get back to you. Does it work with MY Dynamo? The answer is yes. I've tested it with the Zone 28, which is a lot of people have, and with the Shimano. The only thing is with Shimano, there's a bit of a issue, if I want to say, that on Dynamo high, flickers a bit at high speed, so it's not ideal. So basically, if you're going from medium to high and you're going fast, it's fine. But once you slow down, it just continues to flicker all the time, even at high speed. And again, this I've only had with Shimano, and I assume it's another budget dynamos, so it's a bit of an inconvenience. Basically, I let the electronics at full power, and if you have a dynamo that can... So the Companion is making buzzing noises when it's low and medium intensity when on dynamo, or when the battery is full, and this is perfectly normal. This is electrical noise, so it's not mechanical. There's nothing wrong going on. This is basically the over voltage protection. So the Companion by itself starts and goes into battery low, starts to charge the internal battery, and this is normal. This is basically when you have outturned the internal buffer, you're charging like a very big consumer, like a power bank, but you're not going very fast, so at some point you outturn the buffer. The Companion, the idea behind is that even if you're going downhill, you still have some light, so you're not just like all of a sudden left in the dark. So if this happens, disconnect everything from the USB-C port and let the buffer top up a bit. It's perfectly normal, but it's just a safety feature. Don't let this happen too many times because it's not very good for the battery. Can I run it off a power bank? And the answer is no. The Companion is designed exclusively to be run from Dynamo. It takes alternate current, so a Dynamo in the case of a bicycle. Also, the Companion is unresponsive. I'm putting in parentheses after multiple resets. Can you help me? And this is what I mentioned, that if it resets, you should let the battery charge because you can drain the battery beyond recovery. The way to get out of this is to change the internal battery or take it out and try to revive it with a special charger that is designed to do that. A part in the video that shows how you change the battery, and basically do not let it get to this point, but if it does, you need to open it and change up the battery. Will it charge my phone, GPS and all that? The short answer is yes. I have a bit more detailed in the video. You can go in the chapter mark there. But the Companion covers the standards up to USB 1.5 ampere. If you need high intensity lights, like basically you need a lot of light, disconnect everything from the USB port, let the battery at low for like 5-10 minutes because this is plenty for the internal electronics to run, and then just run it off on Dynamo mode when indicator ring is green.